Hi, I'm Rachel Abbasi. Welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. As always, thanks for spending time with me.
Hello. Good morning or afternoon, whatever time it is that you're joining me. Happy Friday. Today I wanted to talk about relapse. Um, so today's going to be a little more specifically focused on alcoholism and that what I've heard throughout sobriety is that recovery doesn't guarantee that nothing bad will happen. Um, what every time, okay, what's the saying? The saying is, bad things don't happen every time I drink, but every time bad things happen, I'm drinking. And I was reminded of that this morning. I've known so many people in sobriety over the past 10 years that have relapsed. And it's never good. And I don't know, 50, maybe not 50% of the time, but there is an uncomfortable amount of people who relapse and they pass away. That's it. That's it for them. Um, I heard somebody say this morning, showing up for the day that shows up for me. That's what I have to do in recovery. Recovery doesn't just prevent hardship. Bad things are still going to happen. Um, Resentments like to peek their ugly heads in and try to get me to sink into my old habits and hold on to bad feelings and isolate myself. Drinking is not going to make any of that better. I talked yesterday about getting through, going through and towards hard stuff rather than escaping from it. And one thing I know that just keeps getting echoed in the years that I'm sober and I see other people relapse is that drinking is going to make all of my problems worse. Um, Drinking guaranteed that I faced hardship. Drinking guaranteed that I was at my worst. Um, Alcohol was never this neutral substance that I just put in me. It didn't just pause my life. It didn't just pause my problems. Um, my problems were growing. Another thing that I've heard people say is my alcoholism is out in the parking lot doing push-ups, like when I'm in a meeting. And every problem gets more complicated when alcohol is involved. Um, my relationships suffer. My I no longer have decisions. I was going to say my decisions are impulsive. They're not even decisions. They're just I'm thoughtlessly moving through my life. And an inevitable impact on me is emotionally is shame and guilt. And because of those feelings, it just makes me want to isolate even more. Um, even if nothing catastrophic happens when I drink, alcohol is quietly killing me, is quietly pulling me into this dark chasm that I know. I'm thinking of Stranger Things right now that I know is underneath the surface. Um, and it can easily just open up and suck me in. Um, I've heard often that a relapse happens far before we pick up the drink. And we think a lot of times, or I think a lot of times, of a relapse as a bad night, but like, when you pick up the drink and, well, this is what happened. But the relapse starts emotionally. What I witnessed today is a resentment that I heard over and over and over again in someone's share over the course of the last couple years. I heard that resentment turn into a relapse almost without the person's uh, awareness that it was happening. It's it makes me kind of stop in my tracks and think, do I have a resentment that just boils inside of me? It's not always there in the forefront, but do I have one that keeps showing up in my life? And what am I doing about it? Am I practicing the program in all of my affairs? I talk about that all the time, but I talk about it and a lot of times in relation to my stroke recovery, my own private universe that I'm functioning in, my own decisions I'm making, my mindset in stroke recovery. And I don't often look at, are any of my relationships suffering? Are there any relationships that I haven't addressed yet? And I don't think I have, but I really need to pay close attention and look at, is there anything that I've been holding on to over the years? Because it could happen in an instant that I pick up a drink to make things better. And this morning, as I was witness to somebody coming back into the program, um, my thought was, thank God she didn't die. And what I heard in response was interesting. It was, I know when I pick up a drink, I'm not going to die instantly. Um, and I thought that was really interesting. Drugs are a little different in ways that, like, you can actually, I mean, I've never had any of these drugs, but from what I understand, if you do heroin, there is a chance that you could die instantly. Like, you could die that day. Well, when you pick up a drink, you could die that day too, but you need a lot of them to to die. And with drugs, it could be laced with something you just don't know. I think the risk seems to be higher for that kind of immediate death. Um, but I have absolutely been witness to people who relapse and they do die that day. But what they think in the beginning is this one drink isn't going to kill me. Um, well, I was thinking this morning after I got off of my meeting that the emotional death does happen instantly. Because I'm drinking for that purpose. I want my emotions to go away, to die. And that's part of the beauty and part of the difficulty of sobriety is that I deal with my emotions. I feel my emotions. And every relapse carries the possibility of it being my last day on earth. I need to remember that. So yes, I am grateful that this person returned and and didn't die. But I'm very much aware of what happens underneath the surface when we're still here after a relapse. It takes an incredible amount of courage, despite the shame and guilt and pain, to show up again, to come back to a meeting and say, this is what I did. And it's possible. It is possible. It's one of those things where you don't have to want to do it. You just have to do it. You just have to keep coming back. Um, I don't get to choose what's going to happen in my life today, but I do get to choose whether I'm going to face it with a sober mindset or not. Um, Today could be one of the most joyous days of my life, but it could be one of the most difficult days of my life, filled with grief. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. This could be one of the most boring days. I could experience extreme disappointment today. There is nothing but uncertainty in front of me today. It's 9:46 a.m. and I have no idea what's going to happen today. I from what I know, nothing's going to happen today. I'm going to do some painting. I'm going to do some crafts like I usually do, and that will be my day, but I don't know. And my program teaches me that I don't get to negotiate with my day. I just need to show up for whatever day arrives. I've talked recently, I guess yesterday, about being trusting that I have the tools that it takes to handle whatever comes my way today. I just need to be present for it, which seems so simple, but for an alcoholic, it's not always that simple. Um, when I hear about somebody else relapsing, I'm devastated. I want to erase their pain. I want to go back and stop them from taking that drink. I want to tell them, you don't have to do this. What are you thinking? I want to shake them. Have you ever seen the airplane movie where they stand in line? This lady's freaking out on the plane, and all the passengers get in line and they just shake her and they slap her. And that's what I want to do. I want all of the AA people to get in line, right before she picks up that drink and shake her and say, what are you doing? But alcoholism is a disease. And I'm reminded of that through these painful experiences. I thought it was, funny, even though it's not a funny situation, but this person said, I took one for the team. I needed to remind us all that we have a disease. And I thought to myself, well, that's exactly what it's doing. It's reminding us when somebody goes back out, it's like part of me. It's like part of my family. And it breaks my heart that somebody felt, even just for a moment, that they were alone enough to take a drink. And by that, I mean alone enough up here, alone enough between her ears that she thought, I can do this, it's fine. There was a separation of her and her higher power in that very moment. There had to be. I know also in recovery that it takes what it takes. I can't force somebody else to not drink. Every alcoholic has a different threshold for pain. Everybody has a different low. And when we think that we've reached our bottom, all we know is at the end of the day, I still have the same bottom, but that bottom could change. If I decide one day that I haven't experienced it, am I sure that I can't drink? I I experienced enough pain to convince me that I can't pick up a drink? Some surrender after consequences that can seem very small to another alcoholic, but others survive losses that seem unimaginable to others before they become willing. And I'll never understand why this low for somebody is acceptable and they feel like they can still drink. While if I experienced that same thing, I would never drink again. It's different for everybody. But my role isn't to judge someone else's journey. It's to be available when they are ready to not pick up a drink, when they're ready to accept help. Um, I have an incredible amount of compassion for other alcoholics that I never have felt um, for a group of people, a fellowship. Um, Whenever one of us relapses, I see how fragile my recovery is, how precious it is, because I can sit here this morning with serenity, with the reassurance that everything is okay. Everything is okay right now. While another person, a part of my fellowship that I care so deeply about, is suffering from devastating consequences that will change the rest of her life because of one decision that I think it'll be okay. I'm not gonna die right away. You know, if I just have this one drink, it'll be fine. I just want one. And that's the difference between waking up in the morning and making the decision, no matter, I'm not going to drink no matter what today. And then as I go through my day, repeating that to myself, I'm not going to drink today, no matter what. Um, and waking up and thinking, sometimes it's not like one would wake up and think, I'm gonna drink today. It's in the moment. It's it's like, yeah, I woke up this morning and I thought, I'm not gonna drink today. But I got into this situation and there was nothing between my ears that stopped me. It was just like everything was fine. Um, that's the disease. That's my only answer to it is that's the disease. That disease can change one's life in an instant. Every time I hear a relapse story, it helps me to protect my own recovery. It breaks my heart that that's what needs to happen to keep me sober. I hope that that's not what needs to happen to keep me sober, but it does. I have to learn from my fellowship as a unit. Um, I need to stay connected. I need to go to meetings. I need to pray to make sure, speaking of connection, that I'm connected with my higher power. I need to help another alcoholic. I need to be available to other alcoholics. I need to extend you know, my help in ways of just even providing my phone number. Call me if you ever think about drinking. I need to practice emotional sobriety every day. And that means that everything that I do every single day can be attached to a step. And it might even be a good exercise to, throughout a day, think, well, what step applies to this? What step applies to this? Because there is a step that applies to everything that we do. Um, so to honor those who have relapsed, the only thing I can do is practice that. Take my recovery a little more seriously. Recognize that no matter how many years I'm into this sobriety thing, I'm just as far away from the ditch as I was when I first got on the path. Um, Again, I don't know what today brings, but it's a beautiful day. I think it's going to rain later. And the only thing that I'm certain about is that I'm going to meet my day sober. Um, I can't save another alcoholic from a painful lesson that's necessary for their recovery. It takes what it takes. But I can pray for them. I can love them. I can provide my phone number and I can be here when they're ready to reach out. And so I just do this every day. Um, I try to show up for what shows up for me, and I try to share my experience, however difficult it may be to talk about it, so that it may possibly help another alcoholic not pick up a drink. And that is is keeping them alive, I guess, in a sense. Not every drink is going to kill somebody, but the next one could, you know. One drink is not enough. Wait, one drink is too many and hundreds are not enough or something like that. Oh, no, one drink is too many and many are not enough or something like that. I can't think how it goes. But yeah, so I was pretty, I don't know, pensive this morning when I was listening because it's hard to listen to when somebody that you care about, that you've been living sober with, virtually even, picks up a drink. It's hard, but I use it as a lesson for myself. And so thanks for joining me today. And I hope you have a beautiful Friday. I'll talk to you next time.